I've written a couple of books. And from time to time, when people meet me, they will say, a bit sheepishly, "I have your books, but I haven't read them yet. I'm going to, someday." And I laugh. It's okay. I'm not the book police. My family and I are grateful for the purchase. Read them if you want to. They make decent coasters and furniture leg props as well. I've noticed a similar phenomenon when conversations turn to faith. Knowing that I'm a church person, someone will say, "I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious." Instead of feeling defensive or judged, I have learned to get curious about that statement. I'm not the spirituality police either, turns out. Interesting, I'll say. What does that look like for you? A different perspective usually means I can learn something. That statement has invited me to look at my own relationship with spirituality and religion. I have some spiritual friends who want nothing to do with religion, and some religious friends who have rejected the word spiritual as a reaction against them. I even heard a speaker at a religious conference say once, "Spirituality is the worst thing that happened to religion in the last 100 years. With respect, I disagree. I know that I know that I know that every person I have ever met has a spirit, a spark or flame that is their unique being in the world. I feel it when they come into the room, but I cannot see them. My spirit is crushed a little when someone with a negative spirit complains every time I see them. I have borne witness to the flame going out when I have had the privilege of being in the room when a person dies. Because everyone has a spirit, they also have a spirituality, which I define as the ways we cope with reality. Our flames, just like real fire, have to be tended so they don't go out, or conversely, burn out of control. When I have a rough day, I cope with reality in lots of ways, by calling someone to talk about it, taking the puppy out for a walk, asking for help, or making a great meal and enjoying it with my family. I also try to cope with procrastinating, zoning out, blaming, isolating myself, complaining, and talking to myself in defeating ways. To the extent that these approaches are my efforts to cope with reality, they are my spiritual habits. Healthy spirituality can be defined as the intentional practices that help us to make peace with reality. Getting grouchy with my family may be an attempt to cope with reality, but it's only healthy when I allow them, with intention, to call me on my irritability and give me a chance to change my perspective. When I want to pour a glass of wine to relax, healthy spirituality forces me to ask whether the wine is an attempt to escape from my life or sink more deeply and lovingly into it. I'm practicing my spirituality religiously. Religion is simply the shared beliefs and spiritual practices of a group of people. And at its best, healthy religious spirituality is the intentional spiritual practices that allow us to make peace with reality, draw us closer to God and each other, changing the world at the same time. In addition to intentionally getting enough sleep to be able to live joyfully and practicing kindness even when I don't feel like it, I show up for church on Sunday with my bunch of imperfect people and let them show me how to love. I pray even when my prayers are scattered helps and tears of grief. I follow a tradition that reminds me that love is always the answer, even when we fail to live it out. I live for a God who gives endless chances to choose again and start over. For me, being spiritual means living with intention so that the flame that I have been given can provide light, warmth, and safety, not only for me, but for others around me. That flame is an extension of the light of the world, a God who became one of us to show us just how loved we all are. I want to live in a world where every flame inside every person is burning brightly without being extinguished by the hatred and greed, violence and poverty that is so common in our world. I want to be a part of building a world where we are not constantly seduced into believing that the next product, purchase, or thing will make our fire perfect so that it never has to be tended again. Most of the people I know, regardless of their religion, share some part of that hope with me. And most people can name the things they do or want to do to make their lives and world more hopeful, more peaceful, more loving. May we be inspired to choose, with intention, the practices that build peace in our own hearts and homes, the practices that put our lives at the service of others, the habits that communicate love and kindness for everyone we meet. May we practice curiosity instead of judgment, forgiveness more readily than resentment, and hope when we are tempted to despair. Amen.